Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you have the opportunity to watch this. Thank you for being part of our community educator newsletter. And I wanted to give you a personal shout out and update on our Family Learning Pod mini events. So I wrote a few things down, so if you see me look over, you know why I am. But the big piece was that as a teacher for 45 plus years, when you make your lesson plans and you know you're going to be observed or that it's the beginning of the school year, it's the first time. So you are wondering what is going to occur. Now, putting together the Family Learning Pod was over the 45 years of experience working with families and children and that whole dynamic. So I knew what does seem to work, but again, we've never done it this way before. And so I was just so excited, and it just was one of those where it was just rolling as it went. As I went along of knowing that, oh, it's doing exactly what it was supposed to do. And that this mini event was 3 hours long. So at first, several different people outside of the organization asked, really, does it take that long? Well, it did, because we put in the workshop, the mini event, the simulation where they had to role play as families. And the first thing that they had to do was experience the stress and frustration with no hope of a solution. And many parents with the desire that they still have a desire to provide a more positive family structure than their parents provided. So we created that at the beginning with a scenario that gave setups, and you'll see that as you read on below. So without them learning anything new, they're destined to repeat what they've always done, and that is where the Family Learning Pod mini events did just that. Participants embrace the role playing of character, and after their initial efforts of the dilemma, communication tools, especially that's our first C in our 5 C's, the communication tools were introduced and practiced with coaching and support. Finally, the participants independently worked through the same family dilemma using the tools they had learned. And you can read below the responses from several of the participants. I'm well pleased from the developer perspective. I hope you can imagine the impact the Family Learning Pod program will have on enrolled families receiving structured weekly support as you read the responses and see the sharp contrast from the negative beginning emotions to the final hopeful outcomes of each participant. Thanks again for listening to the end, and thanks in advance for reading to the end of the newsletter. Thanks, thanks, thanks. And not just from me, but the families who are going to gain this support and encouragement to help move them along out of stress and frustration to hope and a structure that feeds into our communities.